Greetings and salutations, audience. Mixed Game Mike here, bringing you Ace in the Window. Today, live to tape from the Bicycle Hotel and Casino in Bell Gardens, California.
So that's the thing. Like now, Live at the Bike gave me the Monday show, PokerCraft, and it is like a continuation of PokerSesh, which is like in the very first episode, I said, "Look, what is poker? Poker is one of two games that are like the classic games of humanity. One's chess and the other one's poker, where people are always curious about and know it's an intellectual endeavor.
Right.
But, chess being complete information and poker being incomplete information. And it's just like, even if you don't play chess or poker, you know of it, which is like, it's just a part of humanity. And I just like treat it as such. So, like Lyman, I try to do a lot of mythbusters, like when people say, so this pro plays like this, and you start emulating the lower stakes. It's like, no, the low stakes, the medium stakes, and the high stakes are all played differently, and this is the reasons why. Right. TV play for poker is not the same as like the actual grind. Even the stuff you see on Live at the Bike, even though it's a close representation of grinding in LA, it's not an accurate representation like for the full session, because it's only like 4 or 5 hours long.
Exactly, right.
And a real session is like 8-10 hours long, and a lot of like the juicy stuff happens, like 6 hours and 10 hours in the 24-hour session. So it's like, it's only like a tip of the iceberg, but it's still a better representation than, say, post-production stuff like, the highlights of the World Series of Poker, or high stakes poker.
You only get
like
the juicy all in hands.
Right.
Like, okay, well, that's great, but what about all those, raise and then everyone folds hands? Or,
which is great for the masses.
A little bit here and there. Yeah.
Because the masses do need to see those juicy hands as an introduction and be like enticing. But it's just, when you're actually into this world, then hopefully PokerSesh, Live at the Bike, PokerCraft, Ace in the Window is all like bridging that stuff and be like, hold up, this isn't this like pipe dream where you just like, run it up and, retire, and it doesn't take hard work. There's a lot of like grit and pain that goes through it too.
Right, so. Absolutely. Yep.
So then the other thing I do is, like, a lot of people on the show, I just interview them about their story, their poker story, and then analyze some of their hands, and then we take phone calls, and that's another segment. And then there's going to be another style, which is basically I'll be telling poker jokes or whatever, or just like, talking with certain people, just having guests like on a small scale, not like a full interview. Right. And then just be like, this is the theme. What's your 3 minutes to contribute? And just have like a ton of people, do that. So those are the three styles. And
that's gonna be like a talking head kind of segment, or you just kind of.
I'm just gonna like show, like, I'm gonna pre-record like my segment and say, like, send it to you, and it'll be like, okay, do 1 to 3 poker jokes or casino jokes or gambling jokes, and then you just like, do whatever, and just have like 50 people do, or maybe like 20 people do like a 3-minute clip, and then go from there. So it's kind of like one style is me, the monologue. The second style is me with one specific guest, and then 3 is like one theme with like, a lot of people's takes. So that's basically cool. What's coming up. Yeah. But right now I just have like lined up guests like crazy. Like I just had Tina Kate, I have Barry Woods next week.
Okay, cool.
Ken. Yeah, I have Julie Yorn, then Ramsey, Jamie Gold, Rio, Mamacita. We have like so many people lined up.
Well, you have so many personalities, from the show and just from the casino in general. There's a lot of people that fans of the program, are interested in hearing more from. So that's it.
Well, we just saw Bree and Savage just just a couple minutes ago. I had Bree on the show too. Yeah, so it's just like and in my opinion, like when the audience starts seeing people as like human beings, then the toxicity like lowers. Like if you don't know somebody, it's so easy to rip on somebody, like, oh, you suck, blah, blah. And you like hear their background or like, what they're about, and they're like, there's some people who are always going to be haters, but like, it generally shifts into a better direction. And then like, honestly, most of these guys are really friendly. If you just say like, oh, I saw you on Live at the Bike, big fan role, and they're like, oh, thank you, and just like, and even the girls, and like, girls in LA have a really bad reputation for not being so friendly. So and like literally every single one I talked to, no, I should say every single. I keep saying every single one. 95% of them have been great.
Well, there's always those few, right? Yeah. You never know. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, well, that's cool. So now, for those in the audience here that are not familiar with Wayne's show, PokerCraft, let's talk about when that's on and where they can find it.
So it's on every Mondays at 6 p.m. on the Live of the Bike channel, streaming live. It's YouTube/liveofthebike.com, I believe. And then I will post highlights, if not some of them in entirety, but most of the time highlights of like each show, and it'll be on my YouTube. And you can just search for PokerCraft, or you can go to my channel, just search for Wayne Poker and subscribe.
Cool. So do you have what's the most interesting story you have of a PokerTel use?
Oh yeah, you had asked me that beforehand. It's kind of it's a tough one to pick because I can't. I mean, obviously there's a lot of like televised stuff I could pick, but I was trying to think of something interesting that I actually played. So I was thinking of this hand. Actually took place in Portland. It was a 2-5 game, and so long story short, basically cut to the river, and I have pocket aces, and my opponent leads into me for 300 into a $500 pot, and the board is 10, 7 deuce, king, deuce. So 2 deuces out there and 3 hearts on the flop. And I was pretty much on the fence, and this was a pretty informal card room too. So there was a lot of like joking around, talking, and like showing cards and stuff at the time. And so, I was trying to get a little something from my opponent, and he ended up like showing his cards to his friends beside him, basically, saying like, these guys know what I have. And I didn't really have an opinion about which way to go. Like I was real on the fence, and then the guys beside him just were acting like they were giving tells of like them bluffing, basically, because like I would look at them, and I knew they were friendly with this guy for the first thing, so they were like looking down and not looking at me, and just seemed really uncomfortable. Whereas like I knew that if he had me beat, they would be like kind of enjoying the moment and enjoying watching me. Kind of people like to watch people who they know are gonna they kind of like watching somebody squirm a little bit or have their friend beat me. So just I could just tell it was a kind of like a secondhand read as I put that hand in the book, explaining poker tells. And it was just an interesting spot because it was not his tell, but the tells of the guys beside him. And
right.
Yeah, so I called and he mucked, and yeah, that was an interesting one.
And go from there. Like, we're not doing this to be like, oh, big time poker. We're just like, look, this is for the poker legacy. It's like, right. Yes, we hope it grows, but we're not looking for like, some sponsorship or, running out or whatever. I just like, it's for ourselves, and it's for, the community.
General interest in consumption, which is exactly why I'm doing Ace in the Window. It's really just, in a similar way, I looked at what PokerSesh used to be, and I said, I kind of like this. I kind of wish it was back, but Abe's done. He's not doing that anymore. Okay, we gotta all cry and move on, right? So we suck up the tears, and then we, what can we do that's similar but different? So it's not a replacement or anything like that.
It's a continuation,
and it's just kind of like, okay, we're both going in slightly different directions.
Sure.
But delivering similar, but different styles of content. I think
it's just more really of like. Cool. Poker is part of the real world, and this is like, how is it? And poker is going to be different for different people, and not everybody can do what you do, what I do, what Abe does,
right?
What Nicole does, and it's just it's just an example. You could go towards Mike's direction, Abe's direction, and so on, and just pick and choose what the best parts that fit are, and go from there. Because I can't do a lot of things that Abe does, and so, I deal with it.
You deal with what you can do. Yeah. That's important. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, and you see like, I see you have the thing with Andrew Nemi, Brad Owen. They're both great.
Right.
I want to get Brad Owen on the show as well, but so many people are just like lined up, and we haven't fixed we haven't set up the call and the webcam
the Skype,
yet. Yeah. So like, and especially because we could just get people in live, then that's something that a lot of people can't do. Like Joey Ingram gets it in sometimes, and shout out to Joey Ingram, the poker.
Absolutely. I mean, Joey Ingram is definitely
Poker Life podcast. Sorry, it's like completely slipped up. Yeah.
Poker Life podcast is definitely an inspiration for Ace in the Window as well. It's not just PokerSesh. It's certainly a lot of it. That's the main one I listen to. But Joey Ingram's, the conversations, the Poker Life podcast, both of those are kind of inspirational for the show, and at least my show, to see what direction it might be going. So
yeah, I think we're all taking it like with the same take, but like different directions, and just like, it's just to build a community, and hopefully it helps people come up. And I've seen people on Live at the Bike improve a lot. I've seen people in the chat that have been saltier before and just like improve. I'm just like, and I'm improving myself. I've been out of line on Live at the Bike sometimes too. Sure. There's the people who all say, "Oh, you play so bad," blah blah blah. It's like,
oh right,
Garret mentioned that in a tweet recently. It's like the people who berate other poker players are the ones that don't improve. Actually, they're like narcissists. They think that everything they do is like so great.
Garrett's always saying that he's like the worst player ever, and he can't believe that he has any success. And I think he's just being a little overly humble on that one, because he's a pretty solid guy. But I
understand where
he takes that tact.
Where he's coming from, because it's like he's played like multitudes more hands than me, and much higher stakes than my peak performance. So when you start losing a lot of these pots, and then you go back and you think, and you're like, I made a mistake in those big pots, then it starts defining like your self-worth in a way. And that's something that we can't see, because when we see Garret on camera, even though he's been punked around a couple of times, we see him do above the rim, above the rim, above the rim. I'm like, oh my gosh, but from his point of view, all he can see are his mistakes, and like kind of the good stuff just kind of like slips off. It's like imposter syndrome a little bit. But especially in poker, because like your mistakes are going to hurt more, because like in the real world, if you make a mistake, it's like if it's a small one, you're like, okay, it's not a big deal. But then when even a small mistake leads to like losing a $200,000 pot, you can't help but be like, if I just corrected like 1, 2, 3 things, then this wouldn't have happened, so to say.
Yes. Well, that's it for this show, y'all. Thanks so much for watching. Hope you liked it. If you did, hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, and tell us what you thought down below in the comments. Bye now.